That's the 30-second warning. Good morning. Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Church in Stuart, Florida. Today is March the 9th, 2025. I'm Janet Grote, your worship associate today. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, ethnic backgrounds, ages. To be put on our mailing list or find out more information about us, go to our website. You can find it by Googling. Some of us Google, if we do tcuuc.org, I get Texas Christian University. So it may be a little search. YouTubers, welcome, and welcome to our pagan friends that are actually out there on YouTube too. Visitors, if you are comfortable, please step up to the microphone and introduce yourself. Is there anyone who would like to introduce themselves? I think I've got everybody kind of accounted for. Oh, okay. For announcements, see the printed order of service and our newsletter for details. Sadly, one of our most popular new programs is the post-election support group. So, sadly, because we have to have a support group. Next week, we'll be meeting here next week, and it meets once a month. Is Cindy here? I don't see Cindy. Cindy Summers is in charge of that. Oh, okay. The support group for our political angst, it will be next week here at right after coffee hour. Oh, want to join the choir? The choir practice is every Wednesday at 7 here in the sanctuary. See Sandy Craig if you'd like to join. And of course, on Sundays, we have a meditation group gathering. It's led by Karen, who's in the pulpit today, and Ken Texera, who's right over there. And of course, we have our brown bag lunch at the first and third Tuesday at Poppleton Park, right down the street. That's just a social gathering, and it's a very comfortable space to be in. And of course, we will have coffee and cookies in our social hall after the service. And a big thanks for those who helped with the service today. Jackie Robbins and Sandy Craig for our music, and our choir too. And our greeters, Judy Bajoris and Shari Louise, and I think Judith and David were there also. And also want to thank all our attempts to get the thermostat properly set in here. I want to thank Judy Bajoris and Paul Meneses after trying to get a handle on them. We end up paying an awful lot for air conditioning if things aren't working right. Karen Olesch will be in the pulpit today, and also her pagan friends, T.A., Valerie, and Melanie. Karen will soon have a graduate certificate from our Unitarian Meadville Lombard Theological School. Her certificate will be in theology. She was ordained at the Temple of Kira Yoga in 2011 as Swami Kandalalaya Nada. She also holds a certification in meditation from Temple Kira Yoga and is certified as a yoga instructor. Additionally, she has a master's degree in philosophy and with a special emphasis on Eastern religion from the University of Kent in Canterbury. England. She has been teaching philosophy, religion, and English for the past 30 years. Another one of our overachievers. Here's our prelude. Thank you. I don't know if I gave proper thanks to everyone who helped with this service. Karina Poloni is our elf in the back, putting on the show for us. And we want to thank the hospitality team in the kitchen today, Marguerite Gregory, Joanne Leone, Jackie Buckley, and Florence Treckle. Okay, we are going to do our chalice lighting now. We are all infinite stitches knitted into the shawl of God. Her needles piece together the mystery of the universe, how source arises from itself. Let your wonder take flight at the miracle of breathing. Yes, inhale. You are the creation. Exhale. You are the creator. You may be familiar with the Christian and Jewish roots of our Unitarian Universalist sources, but did you know that one of our sources is a spiritual teaching of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instructs us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. It reflects our spiritual longing for the possible, the transcendent. The earliest known organized UU pagan worship was in 1980. Unitarian paganism does not tie a person to any particular dogma in the earth-centered religious traditions. Each person is free to choose their own spiritual truth. As Reverend Bob mentioned last week, many Unitarian churches do have an earth-centered group, and they do many rituals. I miss the solstice ceremonies which my former UU church held. Now, I have an image. Okay. Thanks. My UU mom was way ahead of her time. She made this very heavy, 7-foot-tall ceramic relief tile mural. It was her take on God circa 1968. Yes, during her feminist awakenings. Mom decided God must be female and had a lot to do with the natural order of things. The goddess's jewels represent cells and genes, inspired by my high school biology book. Of course, as a true Unitarian, her focus evolved and changed over the years. But let us celebrate earth-centered traditions. Now, we'll have our first hymn. Stand if you would like to sing hymn number 8, Mother, Spirit, Father, Earth. Karen?
Let us read our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now we will have our responsive reading. Called Womb of Stars, number 445 in your hymnal, or on the wall. So to the mic. Okay. The womb of stars embraces us, remnants of their fiery furnaces pulse through our veins.
We are of the stars, the dust and explosions cast across space.
We are of the earth, we breathe and live in the breath of ancient plants and beasts.
Their cells nourish the soil. We build our communities on their harvest of gifts.
Our fingers trace the curves carved in clay and stone by forebearers unknown to us.
We are part of the great circle of humanity, gathered around the fire, our hearth, the altar.
We gather anew this day to celebrate our common heritage.
May we recall in gratitude all that has given us earth.
Time for joys and sorrows. Pat, can you help move the stones? Yeah. And we need our ushers, Ken and John. John. Oh, Kim and Ken, that'll work. Come on. Ushers. Ushers. Oh, we're sharing, okay, we moved the stone, okay, but we got our ushers picked. Should have done that ahead of time. Okay, thanks for all the help. Okay, joys and sorrows. Please step up to the microphone to speak. Tell us your name first, and we'll move a stone in our symbolic river of life to mark each joy and sorrow.
Hi, my name is Jackie, and I heard a volcano breathe yesterday on NPR. It was a mountain, which happened to be a volcano, and it was recorded, and it was breathing. So if anybody wants to look up this, it related to this guy who wrote a book about mountains, who has dedicated his life to ancient. Oh no, actually it was part of that whole program, but there's a woman who was talking about living on the side of these mountains, these volcanoes, and it was literally like breathing. So I was flabbergasted, amazed, and reminded that we're all part of a great living continuum. Gave me a great joy.
Anyone else with a joy or sorrow? Ronnie?
I'm Ronnie Dembowski, and Fred and I went to see Bill Falk yesterday at Hospice House, and he was in a really good mood and was feeling pretty good. So keep him in your thoughts.
Oh, that was warm, Bill. Here comes Tia.
Okay, Bob's not in the pulpit, so I'm going to make a bunch of
Oh, I
announcements.
failed to say.
Not quite. The first is my joy at being back. I was sick for about 2 weeks, week and a half, and miserable, but it's very nice to be back. Not completely 100%, but 99%. So my sorrow is that last week a very dear friend and a very blessed lady who was a great healer. Dr. Kathy Lytell died after trying to put off brain cancer, breast cancer, bone cancer, all of that. So she'll be remembered by many as a special person, and I will miss her very much. And since I was sick last week, we didn't have First Sunday. So we're going to have First Sunday community meeting in the other hall after you've had a chance to get your coffee today. Not too bad.
Marguerite?
Good morning, I'm Marguerite. I'd like to welcome Betty back, who had been hospitalized the first time back.
She's our 97-year-old. We can brag. Anyone else for joys and sorrows? Carolyn?
Hi, I'm Carolyn Haken, and I said a couple weeks ago that I was excited to find out my cousin was staying in the Keys. So we did get to go to the Keys, and that's why I wasn't here last week. And the Keys were beautiful, the weather was beautiful, and being together with my cousin was just like we had never been apart, even though we hadn't seen each other in 30 years. So it was really great, and I was so happy to see him and meet his wife, and we had a great time.
For those whose joys or sorrows are too private to share, know that our hearts are with you. Oh, one more. Oh. Snuck in on us, Bob.
Good morning, folks. I just got back from a 1-month vacation. Went over to London and on a cruise ship, 12-day cruise over there, and that was really quite nice. And I'm a little weary right now, and I'm time challenged too. I don't know. I went through all kinds of time zones, come back, and I think I got screwed up on time again this morning. So, but I got a lot of wonderful pictures, and if anybody wants to see them, or if Karina can help load them sometime, we can all see them at one time. So thank you, folks.
Okay, we have done Spirit of Life, I believe. No. Okay, this is for those whose joys or sorrows are too private to share. Know that our hearts are with you. Did we do Spirit of Life? We haven't done it, okay. First, we're going to hum Spirit of Life one time through, and then next. Yeah. So we're going to hum one time through and then sing.
Stand if you'd like.
Yes, when we start singing. The words will appear momentarily. I got out of order. Should've. Nope. Sorry.
You don't need the words.
Yeah, we can start humming.
Humming the first.
And Janet has asked me to lead a short meditation. Not surprising. She always likes a short meditation. Hopefully, in a moment, it will come up here on your, well, actually, no, I don't think it will come up on your screen. So, if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes and get comfortable in your seats. And our reading today comes from Joan Goodwin. To the four directions. Spirit of the East, Spirit of air, of morning and springtime, be with us as the sun rises, in times of beginning, times of planting. Inspire us with the fresh breath of courage as we go forth into new adventures. Spirit of the South, Spirit of fire, of noontime and summer, be with us through the heart of the day, and help us to be ever growing. Warm us with strength and energy for the work that awaits us. Spirit of the West, Spirit of water, of evening and autumn, be with us as the sun sets and help us to enjoy a rich harvest. Flow through us with a cooling, healing quietness and bring us peace. Spirit of the North, Spirit of earth, of nighttime and winter, be with us in the darkness, in the time of gestation. Ground us in the wisdom of the changing seasons as we celebrate the spiraling journey of our lives. Now a moment of silence. As you feel comfortable, open your eyes. And now we will have the offering. The ushers will please step forward.
It is time for our offering. Give what you will, for the church has meant so much to you. For the church that meant so much to those who came before you, and for the church that will mean so much to the people you may never know. Give what you will, for you are a generous people. Thank you, Jackie, and thank you for your offerings. Now, Karen Olesch and TA Valerie and Melanie were going to tell us about paganism.
Good morning again. So Bob first posed a question to me a few months ago, and he wanted to know, what is it that draws people to paganism as opposed to other faiths? And so I was set to task to find out why and invite some of my pagan friends from our local Treasure Coast pagan group to give a talk. But first I'll say a few words about my own pagan journey, which started at the UU Church up in Elgin, Illinois, about 20 years ago. They had a Cups chapter there that I belonged to, and they had a beautiful outdoor space with a labyrinth in the back, and we would often do walking meditations through the labyrinth and hold rituals outside, and it was just a joyful time. Sometimes we would meet in people's homes for rituals and meet for arts and crafts and all things pagan, and it really touched my heart. And I'm still involved in the pagan community today. And the way that I have worked it into my practice is through direct experience of nature, celebration of ritual, and the Wheel of the Year celebrations are particularly important to me. And the Treasure Coast Pagan Group does those at the Savannas. We usually have Beltane there and Samhain there, and then gather a large group for anyone that wants more information. Please ask me or one of our speakers today. So all these things kind of connect me and my spirit to our earth home, and that's why paganism is important to me. And as most of you know, my training is as a Swami and in yoga we yoke together our earth and spiritual lives. So the celebration of rituals and nature and being one with the earth is a way for me to get grounded in the earth and celebrate her beauty and sustaining of life. So this really makes every moment, every opportunity, an opportunity to connect with the divine that's found within me and everywhere around me. But today is not about highlighting my own experience. Today we're going to have 3 speakers, and as you may or may not know, beliefs within the pagan and Wiccan tradition and other earth-centered traditions are all very personal, and I think you'll hear that today from our speakers. So I'd first like to introduce Valerie Kaiser. She is the founder of the nonprofit PSL Witches and Pagans. She is a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. She is also a teacher, a student, a pagan, and a witch. Valerie?
Good morning, and thank you all for having us here today. As Karen said, my name is Valerie, and I am the founder of the community nonprofit PSL Witches and Pagans. We have been around for about 8 years now. We are about 1,200 people on the Treasure Coast. We are an open community that helps people have a place to gather, be able to share their gifts and their spiritual beliefs without having to worry about outside people who want to come in and gatekeep, tell us we're wrong. We do that kind of stuff. So we give a safe space for those to come in and worship however they choose fit. So the word pagan originally meant country folk. That changed once Christianity started, and it started to be the term of everyone who was not transferred into the Christian beliefs. They were believed to be pagans. So your Wiccans, pagans in general, it is a umbrella term as Christianity is itself, that means people who worship different. We see nature as a part of who we are and where we're going. So traditionally, for me, I revere nature. I work outside. I found my path in my 20s, and I have been there for 30 years. I found it in a strange way. I actually decided, growing up not a very religious person, to try a bunch of different religions, going to church with friends, that kind of thing. And the last thing I did was I joined a Mormon church. Yeah, that word. Yeah. We figure things out as we go, people. We figure them out as we go. But the young lady that got me into that church was also into SCA, and I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with SCA, but it's Renaissance festivals. That's what it is. It's Renaissance festivals. And she took me to a festival, and I met a bunch of Wiccans and fell in love with the idea that I could be outside, that I could connect, that whatever creator or spirit or energy that was around me was always a part of who I was and where I was, no matter whether it was in a building or outside. And it made me feel like, and this is a term that you will hear a lot in the pagan community, I felt like I was home. I felt like I was actually a part of something. And it has grown from there. I started out as Wiccan. Wiccan is a very structured pagan belief. They have rules and regulations, and it is very follow the book depending on which part of Wicca you're in, because like everything else, there's many different traditions. That was a little much for me. I don't like that much structure. I like throwing things to the wind and just kind of running around and doing what I want to do. So I found more of an eclectic path. I pull from everything all over the world. I read a lot. I'm more drawn to more of the Celtic paths. So anything around Ireland, Scotland, a lot of goddess worship. I feel that the mother is a part of all of us as she brings in birth. She is where we all came from and creation. So along that, I also study a lot of the more, how do I say it? What's the words? My brain doesn't want to work this morning. More of the Indian, the Native American, and other paths within that, a lot of Aboriginal, because a lot of theirs is very earth-centric. I also am learning shamanism through a druidic path, which again is along the lines of my Celtic path. It is working with nature and animals and just kind of connecting to all of that. I do a lot of root work as a certified herbalist, so I like to pull nature into that as far as healing the mind, the spirit, and the soul. Once I've passed through that, I learned that I needed to start teaching. And with me, teaching is sharing. It is bringing other people in, not to change their beliefs, but so that we can understand each other and work in harmony, as we are human and we are all supposed to be different. Nobody's path's the same, no matter what your beliefs are. We all have differences, and we should be able to work along those paths together. Then there's witchcraft. Witchcraft is not religion. Witchcraft is a practice that brings in the energy that surrounds us all. It is working with those energies to bring things forward. You've heard them talk this morning about earth, air, fire, water, spirit. Those are all energies. Those are all around us. Those are a part of who we are. And we manipulate those energies to attain, whether it be peace of our soul, whether it be health for someone that is hurt. There are other things. We all pray every single day, and that is a type of magic. That is a type of manipulating of energy. And we share that in a different way, but we also open it up as a thank you and as a prayer. But that is who I am. I am always willing to answer questions. I am always here if anybody needs just someone to talk to, because that is part of sharing that energy. And I do thank you all for having us out today. Blessed be.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Now I'm going to call up Dr. T.A. Noonan. They are a disabled author and creative. Their latest chapbook a story that begins with a story named Death, is forthcoming from Ethel Press this year. Noonan's practice draws upon their Italian and Creole heritages, combining ritual, chaos, and folk magics.
Morning, everyone. So, I want to start off, I always like to start off with a land acknowledgement. This is the land of the unconquered Seminole. This is the land of the ice from which we get the name Indian River, which runs through the area. So I think that if we want to truly honor our earth, we have to honor those who came before, those who will come after, and those whose bones lie within and upon this land. So I invite all of you to work towards a future in which we are true stewards of the earth, working in tandem with our indigenous brothers and sisters so that native lands can be in native hands. I want to also talk about, a lot of people think that approaching paganism and witchcraft and earth spiritualities comes from a place of trauma. Okay. It comes from a place of trauma, a religious trauma wherein we were thrown away from a previous practice and pushed towards a new one. And while, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I have a story like that to tell, which I will not tell today because it's not important right now. But there is more than that. There's also generational trauma. There's the land that is full of trauma. There's this. There are so many people around us who are filled with not only the trauma of their own lives, but the generational trauma that has come down through our, through our families, through our communities. And that, for me, is part of what I do, is recognizing that trauma and hoping to heal it. Not just in myself and in others, but also in these practices, in understanding them. Where did they come from? Who did we get them from? Are they, are we practicing them responsibly? How do we heal? Not just ourselves, not just our communities, but also the land. How do we bring it all together? One thing I also, because I put a little emphasis on my writing, part of my path is also a recognition of a gift. And that is that I write. That is my offering to the divine. Every day when I put pen to paper or sit in front of my computer or even whip out my phone, open my notes app, and type away something that I've been thinking of, I am making an offering. I am bringing my words and my art out into the world as an offering to the divine. They have given me that, I give it in return. But one other thing I want to talk about these beliefs is that when I came to it, I came looking for truth, which I think a lot of people understand. In a very silly way, and I'm going to tell this part because it is very silly. When I was younger, I used to read the newspaper and I used to read the horoscopes. And stuff would happen that I felt was like, if it said, money is coming your way, et cetera, and I'd find $1. I'm little, $1 was a lot. I was little. I'd hear something about how my day was going to change, and all of a sudden there was a rainstorm. And, I'm like 10. So, kid logic here is, oh my God, this must be true. How did they do this? How did they do this? So I went looking, and I discovered astrology. And from there, I discovered witchcraft. And from there, as I got older, I sort of reincorporated my beliefs, or reincorporated family beliefs and traditions, my Italian heritage, my Creole heritage. And bringing all that together is not just healing for me, and not just healing for me, but healing to my ancestors who brought this knowledge to me, that were part of all of that. One final thing. In that search for truth, I've come up with I've approached a lot of different things. I've approached Roman and Celtic and Greek and native spiritualities, you name it. I've probably studied it at some point. But the thing that really started me is the thing that I think about a lot these days, and that is our place in the universe. How we move through space, through time, through body. And our job is, as something we learned from Jewish mysticism, it's to lift up the divine in each of us, to bring out that divinity from ourselves, bring it to the community, raise it up, and consistently create that cycle of healing, of love, and of life. So if you will, I invite you all to ask questions, to talk to any of us, and to hopefully savor the untouchable stars. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. T.A. Noonan. Next person I'd like to call up to speak today is Melanie, who was born in Minnesota and moved to Florida 7 months ago to be close to family. She is a costume designer and active cosplayer and has worked in the healthcare industry since she was 16. Melanie.
Hi. So, as you can tell, I am quite young. I'm 32 years old. My life as a pagan has been quite short. I grew up in a Baptist household, and I went to church on Sundays and Bible study on Wednesdays, and I learned a lot learning about the Book of Christ. When I turned 16 years old is when I finally decided that this wasn't the path for me. As a child, I grew up playing in the woods. I built forts and sword fought with trees and played with the animals out in nature. And I knew that that's kind of where my heart was. And I knew that the teachings that I have learned in the church didn't really reside with that. And then from 16 years old to maybe 5 years ago, I was just kind of floating around. I was a spiritualist. I kind of learned what I learned and, listened to what people said, and I didn't really know where my home was. I had found Druidry at the beginning of the 5-year mark, and I enjoyed going to rituals and learning about the Celtic and Irish traditions and stories and mythologies and thinking that this makes sense. And I pursued that path for about 2 years until I was introduced to Norse paganism, where we talk about the Norse gods like Odin and Thor and Loki. As if you've seen the Marvel movies, you're familiar about who they are. And I had dove into learning all that I could learn about the Norse pantheon and realized that this makes sense too. That yes, I know that the reason why the sun goes through the sky in the day and the moon comes through the sky at night is because our Earth is on an axis and we rotate out in space. But who really wants to think about that? When I could actually think about someone pulling a chariot through the sky to pull the sun being chased by a wolf, that will one day devour this God and the sun will be gone. Why, I want to think about that. That sounds more exciting, and all the stories that I've learned in the Eddas were more appealing to me, and they made sense of the world. And so I have been working and learning alongside a kindred in Minnesota, where I learned about ruins and divination and how to seek guidance from the land spirits and the gods. And I really enjoyed my time. And even though the Norse pantheon is where my heart is today, I have taken teachings from all walks of life that I have learned about and put them into my life today. So I'm not just one path. I have all different paths that I follow. And so paganism is important to me because it's given me the freedom to research and live my life to the best of my ability. And that is all.
Thank you, Melanie, and thank you again for joining us, Valerie, TA, and Melanie. I just have a few short words as we close and move into our last song today. And this comes from a book. My children actually have been raised pagan also, and this is called Circle Round. It's a great book to use for the family. They have readings, they tell you how to set up an altar, there are crafts, there are recipes, there are songs, and it's kind of the family pagan Bible. And it's by Starhawk, Diane Baker, and Ann Hill that put it together. And so the reading comes from this book. On the land. Where we live, spring is fully here by the end of March. As some of you know, Stara, the spring equinox, coming up. Wildflowers are beginning to bloom, and daffodils make bright splashes of color along the roadsides. The rains are beginning to taper off, or maybe beginning to start in our case. But they still come often enough to keep the hills emerald green, or in our case, full of sand. The fruit trees are covered with blossoms, and the early rhododendrons are fragrant and colorful. Native irises bloom in shades of purple, blue, and white, and the wild lilacs are beginning to perfume the air. The weather is warm, enough to plant peas, lettuce, and potatoes in the garden. It feels warm enough to plant anything. But sometimes we still get tricked by cold nights. This is one of the most beautiful times of the year, with the hills green and fresh and the weather warm and everything blossoming. And I ask you all as we close today, what is coming to bloom in your life? And now we will have our closing song.
Of course, you are all invited to our coffee hour after the postlude. We'll have our extinguishing of the candle now. As we extinguish this flame of our chalice, may the lingering spark carried in your heart until we gather again.
I'd like to mention that the piece I played during the offertory, or the gifts, was a theme from Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto, for those of you who'd like to know what's going on. And this is a jig, or a jig, from J.S. Bach, the second cello suite, a solo cello suite. No, from the third. No, from the first. Just looking at different key signatures, which is in the key of G major. I know you'd like them chipper.